Hi, my friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com with your weekly horoscope for the end of May, the beginning of June, and the focus of this week's prediction for each of the 12 signs that I'm going to do is the full moon in Sagittarius. And I know many of you will say, well, full moon in Sagittarius, a big deal. There is a full moon in Sagittarius every year. But this time is very different because full moon in Sagittarius this year is happening exactly on the axis of the two most powerful stars in astrology. The most belligerent military stars as well, but also stars of power and success. So I'm going to translate how this can manifest in the world, but more specifically how it can manifest for your life in what specific area of your life. And that's why I think and this is going to last till the middle of June, till the next basically till the next new moon actually. So this influence is not just for this week, it's for actually 2 weeks ahead. And you're going to see it in the world and in your personal life. So hopefully I can prepare you to know what is coming. But before I start, I want to quickly remind you guys that now on the 27th of May, we're starting the foundational course with me, which will be 6 months. And it's only $200. And each class is about 5 hours. And I share with you the knowledge that I've gained from so many different astrological backgrounds, Vedic, Western, ancient, Babylonian. It's about houses, rulerships. What does it mean to have the ruler of this house in this house? And what does it predicts specific details, very specific. And you don't need to know astrology. I would explain everything from the beginning, all about houses, all about rulership, planets in houses. After this class, guys, you can basically do astrology as professional astrologers do with a lot more experience. And it's $50 off till the 27th of June. You can come on board later as well, not a problem. All the classes are recorded. And also it's $50 off from my last year's foundational course on the 12 signs, which is about 60 hours of undiluted pure astrological information until the 27th. Again, is $50 off. Anyway, let's go on this week's full moon in Sagittarius that falls on Antares. So let me explain what is a full moon. This is when the moon and the sun are opposite each other, basically. The moon and the sun. The one is on the eastern horizon, the other one is on the western horizon. You can see them. And the moon represents our feelings. The moon represents the people, the normal people. And when it's highlighted, because it's so bright in the sky, basically it awakens in the souls, in the feelings of humans everywhere on the earth, the themes that the moon activates with this full moon. And it pushes you either towards good or bad actions, depending on what star it activates. And currently, such a rare occasion that the full moon is happening on the star Antares. It's a bright red star. It's like, basically they say it's like Mars. Because it's red in the sky, you see it. It's belligerent. Antares. I'm putting it here in red. And the sun is on the opposite, another very powerful star, which is called basically Aldebaran. Aldebaran and Antares. They're both kind of reddish stars. Aldebaran is in the eye of the bull, the constellation of the bull. Antares is the heart of the scorpion, the constellation of the scorpion, but they fall in tropical Sagittarius and in tropical Gemini. So why is it such a big deal? Maybe it's at the degree they are both of those stars. Maybe it will repeat again in 30 years or something like that. Because both of those stars are known as kind of stars of military action. They're stars of military conquest, stars of fighting, stars of success in military actions and activities. And I'm thinking that actually this can activate in the world some powerful military actions. And even I read somewhere that I forgot, I think the Astrology King quoted that, but when those two stars are involved or triggered in some way in the sky, some powerful fights begin and they led to the bitter end until one of the enemies is totally annihilated and they can even go global. I'm not making global predictions here though, as I said, but I'm just mentioning what I read. This is from the research. So maybe there can be a powerful activations of some opposing forces, armed forces happening in the world in the next 2 weeks to 3 weeks around the eclipse, around the full moon in the star of Antares, the most military star, which is like Mars, as I said. But in ancient astrology, they both are, even though they have a bad rap, they both were royal stars, which means they also have some higher vibration. Antares was the keeper of the West. It's no longer fully on the West, but in the autumn equinox. And Aldebaran was the keeper of the East. And Aldebaran is the star of Archangel Michael. Basically, it's the star, it's again, with fight, but this is the warrior of God. While Antares was known as the rebellion. Who created the rebellion? Satan or Lucifer. So Antares is more connected to rebellious forces and rebellious energies of the hierarchies. And I'm not saying that one is better or worse than the other. In esoteric Christianity and in esoteric science, you'd read that actually when the angels rebelled, it was allowed by God or the creative mind, because that was the purpose. The rebellion of the Luciferic beings is what brought to humans the ability to develop independent thinking and free will. Without the rebellious Luciferic beings, we would have no free will. It might sound to you like I'm Satanist or something, but that's the higher view, because God uses both bad and good forces, relatively bad and good, for an ultimate goal. And what would humans be without free will and without, we'll be living in nirvana, surrounded by angels and happy, but we would have no experience that make us become independent individual beings. We would have our consciousness merge with the whole one and would not be able to define ourselves as an individuals. So it was allowed, the rebellion. So Antares, even though it has a demonic kind of background, and kind of a bad background, because it creates rebellion, it creates powerful passions, and it creates foolhardy and daredevil actions. It creates extremes and fighting and all of those things. It's there because Antares' ultimate goal is basically for the evolution of the souls is when you feel this rage and this wrath, it's coming because you are in stagnant situation of some sort. Something, old conditions need to be removed, and this is the energy of Antares and Mars as well, the rebellious energy. It's also, Antares is known as very liberal, which was considered very bad in the past. Nowadays it's not. Something very liberal, progressive, open-minded and broad-minded. So obviously you see something that your conditions are in some way restricted from certain past conditions and you rebel against it. It produces in you anger, rage in some way that makes you do something stupid or makes you liberate yourself in some way. While Aldebaran, which is always in opposition to Antares, is the divine willpower, or like the warriors of God, Archangel Michael. So basically, this is the established order. I'm not saying that's bad. This is good as well. We couldn't, both of them going in extremes. One will bring to stagnation and no development. The other one will bring total chaos and destruction, so both of them have to be balanced, and that's what is happening now, the opposition between the sun and the moon. But the focus is on the moon because it's a full moon. So it's about putting and injecting some kind of rebellious, belligerent, more freedom-wanting and liberal attitudes in us, awakening to certain attitudes strongly in our emotions and acting out from that. It creates a lot of mental alertness as well, because when you are starting a fight, when the adrenaline is high, you're mentally much more alert. You remember every single thing, especially when you're in danger of some sort. Everything stands out in your consciousness so much strongly. So people will be much more on the alert around the world generally now, but in their life in certain areas, something will be happening that creates in them, I would even call it divine anger of some sort. And that this fire that Antares, the full moon Antares on Antares awakens, yes, it might create rage and anger and jealousy, and it can even be the reason Antares is known as a star. That's the reason of one's undoing, because of being too stubborn and being too belligerent and rebellious and acting out just for the sake of acting out. I know people with Antares on the ascendant or moon, they often get in so much trouble and in kind of extreme dramatic situations because of their stubbornness and because of their belligerence, kind of, very the heart of the Scorpion, even though it's in Sagittarius now, it this star makes people quite extreme, you know. But on the same way, these people are rule breakers, and they have some big breakthroughs and innovators of some sort, and liberals, and you know, they can have big breakthroughs basically in life in some periods, and big successes. Antares is known as a star of great success of some sort, and success usually comes success in fight, in war, by rebelling in some sort, and success through purging. The heart. Antares is a star that can take you through some purge, to eliminate from something from your life, to cleanse something from your life, which leads to success. And also Antares is known in its higher vibration as a star which is about standing up for your truth, especially being in Sagittarius now, standing up for some higher truth that you believe, fighting for it, whether with words, you know, or with actions, or with some ruthless, determined willpower that you remove something from your life, or that you fight for something in your life. So it rebels and takes stand against established conditions. Again, be careful, because passions are too high for the next 2 weeks during such a powerful Antares full moon. As I said, you can see people that go a bit ooh, because the moon already, full moon always intensifies emotions. When it's on an angry, belligerent star, I hope everyone is safe, you know, and I hope people, because it affects people generally, but I hope there is no shootings or kind of extreme violence like that that's happening. But on a more positive way, how can it be interpreted? The moon is the people. Antares is rebellion, standing up for the truth. And the sign it is in Sagittarius, higher truth, and what one believes in. So people might rebel and stand up for what they believe, which is in opposition with Aldebaran and the sun. The sun is people in power. Aldebaran is again the star of warring and a star of leadership. Both stars are stars of leadership. Maybe big leaders can butt heads in the next 2 weeks, but also it might mean, and it's in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is about the media, what is in the media, the propaganda, what is in the newspapers, what is being given as facts to the people from those in power in the sun. Or maybe people can kind of rebel or have some kind of a outcry and some daredevil action against people in power for the facts and the media, what is being taught, because they believe something else. The moon is in Sagittarius. Okay, but on a personal level, you know, I see that people will be, each one of you will be feeling some more passionate in certain area of your life. Let's write the keywords here so we can repeat it for each of the 12 signs, where it's going to affect you. Passionate. Okay, belligerent. Belligerent. Rebellious. I don't know if it's rebellious. Courageous. Courageous. Strategic. The Antares is very strategic. It made people that have Antares strong in their horoscope, they're strategists, they're military strategists. Back then, they would probably be generals. Nowadays, such people probably are so strategic. I have my 3 best friends have Antares on their ascendant, so does my daughter. I don't know why I attract those people, but I know the intense passion they feel, and I know how it can be sometimes self-destructive, but how sometimes this intense passion makes them fantastic and passion, but also it's kind of like it's the heart of the Scorpion. It's very strategic. It's not trigger happy. It plans. So the high manifestation of Antares is that they can plan moves in a fantastic way. They can be fantastic businessmen, fantastic. Nowadays we can translate it not in military tactics, but in tactics in relationships or whatever you want, and they win wars like that with very strategic planning. So strategic planning, strategic thinking, success, fighting about something, standing up, taking a stand, and win a fight, winning somehow, having a breakthrough through purging or eliminating something. purging, I would say. But these both stars are stars of powerful success. So I would add this word here as well. Success, but through some kind of fight, or through some kind of more drama, through some kind of more passion. So let's go through the 12 signs. And again, I think that you should just remember the intro mostly, because, you know, when we look at signs, whether it's from your ascendant, your sun or moon, I would only look at it from basically usually from the ascendant sign, but their whole sign house system, their Nico house system. So for some of you, it might not be exactly relevant in what area of your life, but you will feel this. You'll feel this over the next 2 weeks. That's something that you might be having a breakthrough, success, that you might be feeling more belligerent, rebellious, that there might be some power struggles and fight that's happening in your life. Through which you can succeed about something, but because you're trying to remove old conditions from your life that are restraining in some way, and you can have a breakthrough with that. Just remember that for the next 2 weeks. But I can give you more specific what areas of your life you can expect it to, but don't expect it to be exactly like that. Because again, I need to see your personal horoscope to tell you where exactly you can expect it. But these are just general guidelines, because sometimes people say, well, I felt that energy overall, but it's not in that area of life that you mentioned, because people would look from their sun or from their ascendant. But if they're living too far north, the ascendant is very skewed and the houses become skewed, but just generally now. So if you're Aries, sun, moon, or ascendant, this all energy that I'm talking about is going to be happening in Sagittarius, which is your 9th house. So you become maybe very passionate about your beliefs, about fighting about something that you believe in, and basically rebelling against the established laws and traditions. The 9th house is that, or rebelling against the patriarchal belief systems that you've been brought up in, standing up to some authority figure in the face of a mentor figure, father figure. There might be some even escalation of relationship with a father figure, teacher, mentor figure of some sort. That pushes you to take certain action. And because the full moon is always about seeing results, manifesting things outside, you can be this, even though you might feel frustrated for a period, this can push you to some kind of a success. Also, 9th house is basically the house of higher education. And you can, for example, take the plunge, and high passions can make you take the plunge in some matter in regards to higher education. Passions, strong passions as well. Also, and you can have some success as well, because it's about winning a battle. Winning a battle. Let me put here, to win a battle. You can win some battle in regards to higher education. Also, 9th house is matters that needs legalizing, the legal system of some sort, like whether it's like documents you're trying to legalize or something like that. Or if you're leading something with the legal system, you might be having some battle that you can win that battle, that you rebel against that battle in some sort, that you take courageous steps, that that you take a stand there in some sort as well. And 9th house is foreign countries as well. I don't know how this can, apply here. Maybe you think of that. And then you can also get very passionate about your future. The 9th house is one of the houses of the future that you rebel against your plans, and you're like, okay, no, I don't want this one. I'm changing that. Something upsets you, and you're like, it might be just little emotional, that you get emotional about that and upsets you about that. So you change direction in some way. Okay, or win a battle, or manifest something there. If you're Taurus, this is happening in your 8th house. Well, 8th house is already the house of power struggles and fighting with someone. And the house of, so there might be some kind of a situation where you feel very passionate, and someone that's trying to control you, maybe you're trying to take the control back and rebel back against that. Or it might be a situation that is controlling, or a person of some sort, and you might rebel, and you might do something more that's not typical for you, that breaks the rules. The eighth house is the house of breaking the rules in some way. So it feel that very strongly, I believe. Also, the eighth house is the house of resources. Well, maybe someone owes you money, or clients, or a company that you work for, whatever, or your husband who is paying an alimony and they're delaying them, and you kind of, the passions escalate, and you go and stand up for yourself, you speak out, or you say, I'm not happy with the amount that I'm receiving. Eighth house is other people's resources, resources that come to you through others. Something can awaken the divine fire, angry fire in you. So it can make you more courageous to stand up in regards to anything matters connected to taxes, connected to rebel even against such things, matters connected to mutual resources and finances, to inheritances, some fight. They might be winning a battle as well of some sort in regards to such mutual resources, finances, taxes, inheritances, and insurances. Eight houses, all those things. Or it can just push you to be more proactive in some way, your feelings bubbling up to the surface, so you can, maybe find some other source of mutual resources of some sort and rebel against the current conditions there. Okay, that's eighth house is the house of sex as well. We can be a bit more highly sexual, Taurus, and more passionate, and there might be some kind of a more, let's say, it might just manifest as you having a bit more raunchy sex. That can be like the small manifestation that it allows. It doesn't have to be a big bang in your life. Then if you're Gemini, it's happening in your seventh house. Well, seventh house is other people. Someone is pressing your buttons. Someone is provoking you and you want to stand up for yourself, or someone is standing up to you. Someone is provoking the fires of passion, of Antares in your life. Someone is being belligerent in your life, or you're acting belligerent to someone else. Someone is being rebellious, or you're acting. The seventh house is how you act with others, or it's like a mirror house of how they act to you. Or you might be asked to be courageous with someone and take a plunge and step in regards to some relationship. Maybe you're afraid to express and to speak up your truth in relationships, or maybe to express your feelings to someone, because the full moon is about feelings. And now everything kind of bubbles up, and over the next 2 weeks, you might just take the courage and go and express what you feel about a business partnership or personal partnership, feelings about someone. Or you can rebel against the conditions of a relationship, so business partnerships, rebel against the contracts of a business partnership of some sort, or some agreement. Contracts and agreement is also the seventh house that you can, might be in some kind of a war situation for a little bit as well. Taking a stand, but also think strategically. Whoever, it's about winning a battle, Antares. But as I said, because also Aldebaran is a very powerful star, there is this push and pull between two very powerful sides, which you, especially Gemini, feel very strongly, and Sagittarius as well. But because you feel it most strongly, it's, instead of being just crazy and acting rashly like a daredevil, which is, as they say, the self-undoing that this star can bring, try to act strategically, because you have powerful opponent of some sort. Okay, but again, you can win a battle or success in some sort, but your enemy is powerful. Or not enemy, but it might be your most loved person as well. But also it can create a lot of passion in relationship. That's another manifestation of Antares. It doesn't have to be all those bad stuff. You can just experiment in relationship, do something a bit more out of the ordinary, because that's Antares. When it's, it's in its more liberal side of Antares, basically experimenting in relationship, trying something new, breaking the mold in some sort. Even if it's just like, oh, we're not going to this restaurant, we go every Friday, we're going to another restaurant. That's very small as an example, but something can push the fire of experimentation and liberation in your relationships. Okay, if you are Cancer, it's happening in your sixth house. Well, sixth house is to do with your health, first of all, the habits that you have that maintain your health, how you eat, how you exercise, mental and psychological health. Also, sixth house rules addictions. Well, you might rebel about such situations. You might emotionally, all of a sudden, your feelings can boil up, and you might feel just very aggravated and say, "I've had enough." I'm like, just get angry and say, "Okay, I'm gonna rebel against the conditions of my health now," or I'm gonna, you know, you can become extremely passionate about changing the conditions of your health. Maybe you can read some book what to eat or whatever, but this kind of makes you take the plunge, take courageous actions in some change. And you can also get very angry at some health condition that you have, and you know, hopefully not do something stupid, but decide to fight it and decide to, I'm going to win that battle. And you can also, sixth house is the house of another house that's connected to litigation. The three houses, the 8, the 7, and the 6, is connected to litigation in some ways. And especially sixth house is like criminal litigation or divorce litigation of some sort, because the sixth house is the 12 from the 7, dissolution of relationships and marriage. So there might be some kind of a standing up in such situations, some kind of an intensified struggle and winning of a battle eventually. Also, the sixth house is the house of enemies, people that really irritate us and annoy us, people that we compete with of some sort. Well, this is so all correct with that, you know, that you just maybe decide to stand up to such people, whether they're bullies or whatever they are. That it's sixth house is unequal power, when unequal relationships, you know. So you kind of stand up for them, or act strategically, and are able to win a battle there. Sixth house is also the house of work. So who knows, you might just become more passionate about your work. That's one manifestation. Or you just might become more belligerent about certain conditions in your work environment, or you just might get fed up with how the office politics is or whatever, and speak up about your truth there. Take a stand about something happening in your work, you know. You can win some battle there as well. And yeah, so these are some of the ways it can work out. Purging, I forgot to say, sixth house is health habits. So there can be some escalation that makes you feel emotional that it's time to purge in some way. Okay, then it's cleansing of the body, I would say. Then if you're Leo, this is happening in your fifth house. Well, this full moon emphasizes there maybe some passionate dating relationships, some powerful, because it's also very sexual interest, some powerful sexual impulses towards a loved person. But it can also mean that there is some kind of a situation, taking a stand with someone that you're in love, or maybe the fifth house is one of the houses of romance. Seventh house is committed relationships. Fifth house is, you know, feeling in love and people that you really love. So there might be some power struggle or intensification, or some kind of very passionate reactions on the positive side with such loved people. On the more negative, it can be some kind of a rebellion, that they act out or you act out, that you take a stand and you say, why are you treating me like that, or whatever, or why are you not giving me the love I deserve, you know. Or there can be some strategic planning that you try to, you know, entice strategically someone that you are interested in romantically. But it's also your children. Maybe your children can rebel in some way, or the passions in the relationship between you and your children can escalate, and you might fire at each other in some way. And there might be the need to kind of, your children might be taking a stand, or you might be taking a stand with them, might be fighting, of course. This is Antares. But also on the positive level, they can be the winning of some battle. Maybe your child overcomes, like mobilizes, like the moon with Antares can mobilize your energy to win some battle and to have some success, you know, leadership success, some self-initiated success. Also, the fifth house is the house of creative, our creativity. So maybe you can all of a sudden say, I'm fed up with this website, and you kind of really get passionate to destroy it and build a new one. Or maybe you can say, I'm fed up with, I've been painting always like that, or you kind of get frustrated with that, and you're like, oh no, I'm going to purge this style of painting or whatever, and I'm going to introduce a new one, whatever creative process if you're using, you might rebel against them or kind of experiment with them, be more liberal with them, introduce something that is more against what you normally do. And you can also can be less the culmination and winning some culmination of some creative project that you finish with a bang and lots of passion. Okay, so then if you are Leo said, okay, if you are Virgo, this is happening in your fourth house. Again, as I said, these are just guidelines. For some Virgos, Virgo rising people, it might be the third, for some might be the fifth. But generally, for this whole sign house system, for Virgos is happening in the fourth house, which means that there might be some kind of power struggle or rebellion towards established rules with family or mother, or you might rebel against your landlord. You might kind of have to strategically plan something for your garden or for your home, or take like a military active action with a lot of energy to change something or to complete some project in your home or family. Hopefully it's not so much fighting, as something else. And because my relocated ascendant is in Virgo, okay, I hope we don't fight, but it can be also to take courageous plunge and to go and do something in regards to your home. But it can be, again, the passions in the home will rise up. There'll be too much excitement, maybe reactive activities. As I said, Antares can make one shoot themselves in the foot or be the reason for their own undoing from too passionate reactions. So be careful for that, but at the same time, it brings the fire into your home and into your family, or matters connected to property, matters connected to living conditions, matters connected to place of living that may be something aggravates you, and you're like, I don't accept anymore how things are. I'm rebelling against that, and I'm going to introduce some changes. It might be a little thing is like, oh, the loan is not loan. I'm so fed up with my husband that hasn't loaned it. So you go and loan it yourself, but this can, basically escalate some passions there. And as I said, the ultimate thing of Antares is success, glorious success of some sort connected to home, family, Okay, and if you are, and also it can mean that people from your family can act out like that, basically rebellious, courageous, they push you into something. Antares is not a shy star. It's almost like a bully. It can push you into something, but as I said, it's necessary. Even God allowed the rebellion of the fallen angels to happen, so humanity can develop free will. Okay, and then if you are Libra, it's happening in your third house. And it's much easier influenceable. You can communicate, you can say things, you can fight with words, for example, with someone. Your passions can rise up, that someone triggers your buttons in such a way, especially in small group environments with people that you work at, for example, co-mates, teammates, playmates, friends of some sort. The third house is also friends, siblings, relatives, neighbors, that this can create some kind of rebellion and speaking up and standing for your truth and fighting maybe with them, purging, maybe in extreme cases, purging of such relationships, but they lead to success, purging that leads to success. Even winning a battle if you're fighting with such people in your everyday environment, siblings, relatives, co-mates, workmates. But again, be careful, because Antares can have the opposite effect, that when you react overly too passionately, it causes your own undoing, so it sometimes is good because you need to stand up for something, so yeah. And third house is also to do with administrative tasks and stuff like that. I don't know how this can relate. Maybe you can be too emotional for those things. Maybe administrative planning, strategic planning, it's quite good now, because Antares is extremely strategic, and the moon becomes very mentally alert, and the third house is very mental house, so it can be good time for some kind of a planning, organizing, strategic of any sort. Also, you might feel on the positive side very passionate about some group, small group project that you're working on, or some commercial or business activity project that you're working on. But also, people can aggravate you in regards to that. Say something with in regards to this commercial project of writing, speaking, or business commercial project of any sort that you're doing. It might be more, there might be more passions flying off. So you have to learn to balance it out. And as I said, communication, war through communication can happen in some way. So try to rein in your, again, sometimes it's necessary to do it. You judge better which one is the better one. Okay. And especially there can be some clash with with opinions of others. Okay. And if you are not Sagittarius, Scorpio, it's happening in your second house. So there might be Sagittarius, Scorpio, second house, and second and eighth house. There might be some kind of fight or power struggle about resources, about assets, yours or others. And it can be about, or maybe even becoming more passionate and infusing a lot more passion and energy into winning some money or into gaining some desired asset. That's the best manifestation. If you ask me, hopefully I wish it for all of you that you're like, okay, I want this thing, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna get this back, or I need, winning a battle in regards to assets and resources, and basically getting super motivated and almost ruthless to acquire certain resources, to acquire certain assets of some sort. But you can also rebel against and establish, or you can take a risk in regards to your resources. And if you plan it strategically, this can be very successful and pay off in a big way, Scorpios, but if you don't, sorry, not, yes, Scorpios. But if you're too ruthless, if you're too reckless, that's the other extreme of Antares. It can backfire. But Antares' ultimate goal is to win a battle, to crown you with glory. And when it's in the second house, it's about your resources, it's about finances of some sort, and maybe fighting for money, who knows. But it's your self-worth. You might have to take a stand to defend your self-worth if someone belittles you or diminishes your worth, the worth of your work, the worth of your beauty, the worth of your clothes. Someone looks at you and says, what are those shoes? How many years have you worn them? Whatever. You might this can awaken in you the rebel to stand back and speak up about your self-worth. It might be something so small, but it might be something bigger, and as I said, on the best possible ways, being very passionate about your resources and maybe putting a lot more mobilizing, because you emotionally get and mobilizing yourself in that direction. And manifesting something materially, basically, because the full moons are about manifestation. If you're Sagittarius, well, it's happening in your first house. Sagittarius, especially if you're Sagittarius born with your sun around the 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th degree, the full moon is happening there, which means basically if you're Sagittarius that are born at the end of November, the beginning of December, the first 2-3 days on each side. Or if you have your ascendant around that degree, it's happening around 8-9 degrees Sagittarius. Wow. All Sagittarius will feel it. All Sagittarius, everything that I spoke about. The intro, basically, Sagittarius. Just listen to the whole intro. I don't even want to repeat myself. Everything that I spoke about, you'll feel it on all levels. You feel emotionally more belligerent, more passionate. You can feel like you get more passionate to express yourself. It's in your first house. So you mobilize yourself emotionally. Your emotions mobilize all your energy because you have to be in the spotlight for some reason in the next 2 weeks. You have to take some center stage activity in some sort. And it can crown you also with leadership of some sort. You might be asked to take the leadership in regards to something. But on the more negative scale, and to win something, it's in your first house, you will be the winner, in some sort. Yes, there is an opposition from the sun. You might have some opponent there that is pushing you, that's quite powerful as well. But you are the one that acts out more rebelliously. You're the one that acts out against constrictions, against old rules. It can be in any area of your life. You're the one who takes like a more daredevil approach. You're naturally like that. Sagittarius is known like for that. You're being more courageous of some sort. Passions, intense passions bring this courageousness, this rebellious, belligerent spirit that eliminates old and dated things from your life, that does some purging that leads to eventually to success. Might be some fighting involved, again, as I said, taking a stand again, winning a battle of some sort, but ultimately it can be like some kind pushed in some mini leadership role or mini. But again, be careful that you don't, your passions and your emotions don't blind you too much that you go and do something stupid, because as I said, Antares can be the cause of their own undoing when it's activated, by being extremely stubborn and by being a bit mental almost, and being too just rebel for the sake of rebelling. But this is, it's like this full moon says those qualities are needed a little bit for the next 2 weeks to break through in some area of your life. Success in fight and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you're Capricorn, well, it's happening in your 12th house. I don't know how to see that. Maybe the 12th house is the house of sleeping and dreaming. I think you might, some of you just, it might manifest in a simple way as that you're dreaming about fighting with someone, about wars, that you're dreaming about taking a stand and speaking up your truth, about battles and stuff like that. Or there might be some hidden battle, 12 houses, something hidden, some hidden battle that is happening, that is not public, that's very private. It might be a battle that's happening in your subconscious or in your soul. Just like I told you, Antares is the powers of God and, sorry, of the so-called, of the more demonic hierarchies and the more rebellious progressive hierarchies, while the Antares, sorry, Aldebaran, which makes opposition to your 12th house full moon, is more established rules. So maybe, and the kind of the God's warrior, Archangel Michael. So basically there might be like an inner battle of the good and the bad. And again, I say good and bad are relatives, but in this world, they're not. In this world, with our three-dimensional consciousness, there is good and there is bad, relatively. But from a higher perspective, is all used for the highest good for everything. But you might feel like there is like a battle subconsciously happening, even in your dream state or in your mind, in the quiet of your private room, in your prayer or in your mind, whether to do good or bad, whether to do the established thing or to rebel. So it might be more like an inner battle that you're feeling of some sort, but it's also can make you extremely psychic, because Antares is also a cult star, and especially when the moon is there, it gives the ability for prophecy and the ability to, according to, let me just remember who that was from, but it gives the occult abilities, basically occult abilities of some sort, that allow you to, especially in a dream state or through some intuitive, very powerful intuitive full moon, and it's in the 12th house of the subconscious and the invisible worlds, and it's a very psychic house, and the moon is extremely psychic as well. So some of you Capricorn, stay tuned. You can receive some powerful messages in your dreams, or just like, not even in your dreams, through spirit guides, through ancestors, through signs in your everyday life, communications from the invisible worlds that are very powerful. And again, there might be some inner battle going on within you that you receive answer about what is the right thing to do. And there might be the winning of some inner battles with inner demons of your own. You know, 12th house is also, just like the 6th and the 8th, is known as the house of addictions and self-sabotaging behaviors and struggles, especially coming subconscious that we're not aware of, why we're self-sabotaging ourselves. And with this powerful kind of ruthless star of purging, there might be some purging in the next 2 weeks of underworld stones that are sabotaging you, and maybe coming to the surface of some secrets. 12th house is very secretive as well, that of things that you've forgotten, maybe even past lifetimes memory that surface in some way, that this moon awakens, or signs from the invisible world that helps you kind of, you know, purge yourself of some of your inner demons, let's say. Okay. On another level, if you're, Aquarius, then it's happening. Sagittarius is, if you're Aquarius rising, sun or moon, Sagittarius is in your 12th house, 11th house, which means that the full moon is happening in your 11th house. Well, 11th house is known as social circles. For example, I'm Aquarius rising. 12th house for me, 11th house for me would be you, viewers, fans, your social circle, people that support you, benefactors, or people whose opinion you depend on, because the 11th house is the environment, the social environment that we are. It will be your friends as well. Third house is also friends. 11 is maybe not the friends that you hang out every day with and have coffee, but it's still a house of friendship. So there might be some kind of a rebellion happening there. There might be some kind of a fighting even, or maybe you have to take stand in your social circle with people, or maybe or you might see me acting out and making crazy videos getting angry at you or something, or maybe feeling attacked in some way. But if you're in any kind of social situation, whether it's over the internet or whether it's in person, nowadays it's mostly social media and stuff like that, but this is your social circle and big groups of people. This is your 11th house. There can be some belligerence there, some rebellion that's happening that you have to take a stand for, or your friends do that, or those people, your friends act out in such a way. It's not necessarily always that it's you personally. It's someone represented by that house that can act out those powerful passions and emotions of the moon, and that kind of influences you in some way. You can win a battle of some sort in a social situation. But also it can mean just like the completion of some project, or the culmination, let's say, seeing some project that you're doing with many people or with groups, or in some social situation that culminates and is crowned with glory or whatever, or it's kind of success. So puts you in a leadership position in a group environment of some sort. But again, be careful. You can also break the mold of some sort there in established rules and traditions with big groups of people. But be careful again for too passionate reaction, someone acting out, or you acting out and then being the source of your own undoing. And the 11th house is the house of gains. So there might be the culmination of gainful period for you. It can be quite gainful, and it can require mobilizing your resources, your energy of some sort, because the moon is very passionate with Antares. It requires you to mobilize a lot of your strength, and gives great power, again, as I said, through the astral body, through the emotions, gives you great power to manifest more in regards to gains in that 11th house. Okay, so, and then if you're Pisces, sorry that you again lost Pisces, but that's why you're the wisest and the most spiritual sign. You shouldn't care if you're first or last. For Pisces, it's happening in your 10th house, guys. Well, there might be 10th houses authority figures, institutions, hierarchies. Well, there might be some rebelling there against such authority figures. Might be a father figure, might be a boss figure, or a boss figure might be acting out, or you might be required to take a stand in such situations, even if it's just saying one word, but the moon can escalate your emotions, that you kind of basically gather more courage and stand up for yourself in front of some authority figure. Or you kind of rebel against some authority figure. And if you're the authority figure yourself, if you are the one that is in the parental role, in the boss role, there can be some rebellion. You might get like too passionate and excited, and you just want to change things, the structures, the rules of some sort. If you're your own boss as well, the 10th house is your career. It's for everyone is their career. The moon can really mobilize your feelings and passions to manifest more in your career. As I said, Antares is a winner. Antares is a leader. You can be put in a leadership position in your career. You can be some kind of a and full moons are about manifesting, seeing the results of a culminating of some kind of a career strategy or project that need to be very strategic. If you're very strategic, you can have fantastic success. If you do some purging as well, elimination of certain things, you can win a battle, be crowned with success as well. But again, be careful for the more, feisty side of this full moon, the belligerent one. that can create power struggles there. But again, as I said, full moon is a positive thing. When Antares is a yes, very passionate, so you can have success through very passionate actions in regards to your career and in regards to your social standing. In extreme cases, it can, as I said, lead to too much. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. Hope you enjoyed that interpretation of the full moon. Watch out for those influences for the next 2 weeks almost, you know. And yes, hopefully I'll see you in my foundational course where I'll teach you to do predictions with very specific details. Also, do mention that Marina is doing a webinar on Mars retrograde, which will be around on the 17th of June, I think. And she sends you a personal report of what area of your horoscope Mars will be squaring, trining. So during the webinar, she'll explain how it personally affects you. So she'll send a little, we'll send you basically a little calculations of what Mars will affect in your chart. If you want to be prepared for this Mars retrograde this summer, because Mars retrograde is the planet that is most rare to retrograde, the most important, very important retrograde of all the planets that happens. So thank you so much, and enjoy this passionate, intense, empowering, rebellious, libertine, sexual full moon on Antares. And I'm a bit crazy too.